What if we are all one and we stop listening to the stories inside of our minds that cause us to believe in the illusion of being separate from each other? The true cause of suffering is identification with form. And this means that we would identify with something that will inevitably cease to exist, whether that is our body, our minds, something outside of us, a relationship, or something beyond. And one common mistake that I have believed and seen others fall into the trap of is to identify with the mind, because enlightenment happens in the mind. Enlightenment is a state of mind, and when identification with the mind occurs, the fluctuations of the mind can cause a lot of suffering, because there's this crisis of, who am I? Who am I if I keep contradicting myself, if I keep going one way or another way? And at the end of the day, you are the observer. And I've seen this with mental health issues all around the world that are starting to occur, specifically in the US. And a lot of these are because of social media and the illusions, and social media allows the ego to flourish more, and further identification, further storytelling of this character to occur. And this is truly what is the downfall of humanity. The issue with humanity is identification with the mind. You don't see this in other parts of nature, because everything is in equilibrium in some type of way, and the mind stays at its baseline. But you see this in nations where new inventions and technologies arise that are unnatural, and these unnatural, invasive technology forms of technology can cause suffering that is beyond this experience of reality. And most spiritual teachers will say that suffering is the path of enlightenment, and you must suffer to be enlightened. Or that Buddha did say that enlightenment is the end of suffering. And it is not necessarily required, actually, in my opinion, to suffer to achieve enlightenment. But I think sometimes enlightenment can already be present, and one may not know that they had it until they experienced some form of identification with the mind. I can talk about an example that I was at this super peaceful state in my life for like an entire year, and then some unnatural disturbances from society caused me to my mind to fluctuate tremendously, and then I re-identified within my mind. And it took me like 4 years to understand the simplicity of getting back to that peaceful state. And here I am. I'm on a farm right now, in a place of healing. And I have not seen this being mentioned in the media about the biology and the physiology of a peaceful mind. And that obviously you have to, there's this breaking point where it's like, you know what, like in The Power of Now, when Eckhart Tolle in the book says, I don't want to be identified with this roommate in my mind anymore, this voice that has commentary over my entire life. I just don't want that voice anymore. In a way, that voice is optional. We don't need that commentary over life. We don't need to be judging everything around us. I don't know exactly where I was going with that, but I remember now. So the biology and the physiology of a peaceful mind, a lot of it has to do with like getting adequate nutrition, adequate sunlight, being active, being focused. So if you have one point that you're focused on, this can allow your mind to be trained in stillness. And I heard that Bruce Lee used to stare at one point for at least just an ungodly amount of time, just to train his mind to be focused on one point. And to take that further in the biology and all of that stuff of the mind, a lot of suffering occurs because of the brain damage caused by trauma, the brain damage caused by exposures, like you could be exposed to like toxic black mold and not know, or sleep deprivation, like not like fully taking care of yourself, or like the biggest one, which is stress. And once that damage is done, a lot of the times that damage is done unnaturally. That damage is so intense. PTSD, for example, in the war, like war was never supposed to happen. It happened unnaturally. So you have to like have this intervention to heal that. And there are things like omega-3s and omega-6s that restore your brain. Or there's this well, everyone knows, I don't know if you guys know the vegetable called okra. So there's a supplement form of okra pepsin, which restores your gut. And all of these things that can restore your mind tremendously, like super quickly, if you were exposed to an unnatural destructive force, which may have harmed your mind. And in yoga, the teaching is that your mind is kind of like the mirror. Your mind is sort of this prism that you see reality through. And although like sometimes the mirror is dirty, sometimes there's a lot of stuff clouding it, whether it's biological, psychological, you are still not the mind. You are not the mirror might be dirty, but you are still that pure radiant light, that pure reflection. And I'm in the process of healing my mind on like a biological way, also like psychological. Like I'm on like a mental detox right now, just being on this farm and doing like labor. I'm trying to focus to overcome the fluctuations of my mind, the voice that complains in the back of my mind whenever I'm doing a task for too long. So the psychological, the biological healing of the mind, and then the spiritual, like yoga, meditation, and like letting go, surrender, forgiveness. So yeah, if you guys want to see exactly what I'm doing to heal my mind biologically, like supplements, there's this doctor that my mom went to a while ago, and he gave her these specific supplements that healed her brain when it was inflamed. So those are miraculous. I'm 3 days into that, and I feel like peaceful like I haven't been in a while. So I can actually talk about the biological ways in another video. Maybe I'll title that video How I Healed My Mind. So please comment if you actually want me to make that video. And sometimes we don't know that like we're in a mentally dark place until we experience something like way brighter. I remember for the longest time, I didn't know I was like in not the best state mentally until I experienced like bliss. And I was like, oh, is this how like it's supposed to feel like? Is this how I can feel? So, but throughout that whole process of cleaning the mirror of your mind so you can see yourself more clearly, you still must realize that you are not your mind. And this will allow you, oh, there's a leaf, to be patient through that process of clearing the mind of beliefs, thoughts, biological inflammation, all of that stuff. So Peace, much love, namaste.